Thank you, sir.
Okay, everybody, good evening, and thank you for coming. Welcome. We'll get moving with my first question, which is if anybody is recording this meeting, could they please identify themselves? Seeing no one for the 10th year in a row, we'll move on. We'll do with the roll call. We'll start with young lady on my left here.
Maureen Piccioni.
Bill Carey.
Chris Clark, Town Council Liaison.
Bill Monroe.
Pete Sampu.
Antonio Mancha.
Nina Coleman.
Donna Bragg.
Tom O'Neill. Thanks, everybody. So we'll act on the minutes now. Anybody have any questions about the May minutes?
I'll make a motion that we accept them as printed.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. The motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Notes from the chair. I just want to quickly update you on the status of our rec commission appointee. As you know, it's been a year since we've had a vacancy. Lots of conversations back and forth. I think at the same time, the rec com was also going through a lot of change, new members. And anyway, at the point in time around May, I finally got in touch with Renee King, who's the chair. And she invited me to their June meeting to give the RecCom members an idea of what's involved in being a Sandy Neck Board member. So I did that, attended the meeting, and I think, I forget how many, there's 3 or 4 of them are kind of brand new to the Rec Commission, I think. So they were sort of, I think, maybe a little unsure if this was going to be, more than too much to take on in addition to what they're doing, and who knows what else they're involved in. So anyway, so after the meeting, Renee said to me, well, I'll take the position temporarily until someone else steps up. So I said, well, that's fine, but you'll need to go through the town and get that approved. So she did that, and I got a note from Cynthia Lovell saying that Renee had now been appointed to the Sandy Neck Board and was supposed to be at the July meeting. But she's taking care of a sick son, I think, in Phoenix or someplace out west. So she said she'd be here in August. So I don't know if she'll stay with this a long time or whether she'll stay with us as long as, there's no one else on the RecCom that is interested. But hopefully at some point there'll be another person interested. But in the meantime, we'll have somebody from the RecCom and have a full board, which is the main thing. So that's the status of the long-awaited appointment from the Rec Commission.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
So she's now appointed by the nominating committee.
I can't answer that question as to how. All I know is I got a letter from Cynthia Lovell saying she's appointed. So.
And is there a policy that you cannot miss more than 2 consecutive meetings? I know for COVID it was all different, but.
I remember hearing that from someplace, but I haven't been able to find that in writing anywhere. I think that was a little bit of an urban myth that was around more than it was something written down. But,
Trying to get you here on time, Bill. That's the thing.
Oof, ouch.
So at some point, though, you have to sort of draw the line and say, we need to move on.
Yeah.
And I think Gordon Starr is on the nominating committee. Maybe he's the person that could help us.
I already took that step. I wrote 3 letters to Paula Schneck, is it?
Yep. Schnepp.
Saying that I was exercising under the articles that, allow you to do it, to have someone appointed to the position from the general public who would then represent the Rec Commission. So I communicated with her multiple times about that, saying that we wanted to move forward. So then all of a sudden, there was the scramble in May, and then the discussion I just relayed, where Renee said she would do it, which is fine, So, it was a year, so that's pretty patient. Not ideal, but anyway, that's where we are. So I just thought I'd update you on that. But it looks like we will have Renee here in August, hopefully. And any other questions on that? Okay, we'll move on. Correspondence, anybody? No? Okay. Staff report?
No. We're going to go
Oh, sorry, we're going to do Antonia's presentation first.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of new ones. Thank you very much for having me. This is a pleasure. My name is Antonio Mancha. I work at Sandy Neck predominantly. With that, we get involved with a lot of projects down there. One of the last projects I was working on was the the installation of an osprey pole for one of the osprey pairs on the beach. So with that, we found a nest in a tree around 426. That's been there about 2 weeks or so. I was at the Nickerson cottage, so it was right above the cottage, so it was impeding, the living arrangements there, and they wanted to move it. So we got to work with figuring out how to move that. So we worked with a gentleman, Chris Walls, who does a lot of the relocations for the nests with the ospreys. He'll build a lot of poles out there. So let's see.
You work for some agency or organization?
So he has his own business. It's called Beard with Binoculars. So he does a lot of like bird watching tours, but he also works very closely with Mass Audubon to relocate some of the nests. So we did our initial assessment of the nest there just to make sure that we were able to move it, that there were no chicks, there were no eggs in there. If there are chicks or eggs that are in the nest, it makes it a little bit difficult to move it. We do need permitting from the state. Sometimes it'll take up to 45 days to get that, the permit. So we were taking a look at the nest here just to make sure nothing was in there. We have a very large pole that they use with a mirror on it. So we were taking a look at that, a little bit short, so we actually had one of our staff members climb into a tree, very safely, of course, but climb to the tree just to make sure, and it was verified that there was nothing in the nest, so we could begin our process there. So with that, we started the process of building the pole itself. So this took about 2 hours or so. Usually has all these items pre-made, but he didn't have the opportunity this time. So we built everything from scratch here. So we used 6x6 base, 2x4s and 2x6s for support and all that, and a pallet that would hold the nest itself. So we would also have to reconstruct the nest to make it inhabitable for them, or habitable for them. After that process was complete, took about 2 hours or so, we prepped the site there. So with that, it's a little bit specific. So you need a 3-foot hole down into the marsh there just for stabilization. It's a very unstable environment. So we got a lot of rough winters. So we need to make sure it doesn't shift or anything like that. So we also dug a slightly sloped trench to kind of help us install the pole there. Once that was done, we have to rebuild the nest for them, basically. So we'll scavenge whatever we can find from the original nest that was knocked out of the tree, and we'll kind of make it as similar as possible to the original nest. So we'll make kind of like a foundation or support with some of the branches, the bigger branches, and with that, we'll start to kind of fill in the voids with seagrass or whatever rack we can find around. Once that's done, we'll erect it, so we'll put it right up in there. We'll make sure it's stabilized, of course. These crossbars will keep it supported through the very roughest of winters. Once that's done, the area or the nest itself is good to go. We'll wait around just to make sure that they take to the new nest. Sometimes they won't take to the new nest, which will create another issue. Sometimes they go right back to that point, which sometimes you'll have to take the tree down. You'll have to. They were talking about putting a traffic cone on the top of it to discourage them, but luckily enough, they did take to the new nests, and they were there for quite a while. I believe they do have chicks on the nest now, of course. And these are all the people here that worked with us. So that's Owen Tupker. He was assisting with the installation and with the PowerPoint. A few gentlemen from the Mass Audubon Society, and this is Josh Kelleher. So he used to be one of the natural resource officers. He left not too long ago, and this was one of his final projects with us. And that's it.
So where's the new location?
So it's right off of Nickerson Camp. So the tree was right above it, and then we just shifted it a little bit deeper into the marsh. They prefer some man-made structures, so away from anything that's going to impede it or anything like that, and they usually take to the nest pretty well.
If I may, how was that financed?
I'm not entirely sure. I know his
No,
rates.
I can answer that the cottage owner himself paid for the relocation.
Wow.
Staff volunteered to help, and a lot of people helped him, but he actually paid, Chris Walls, and paid for all the materials.
Wow, that's very impressive.
It's all in private property. That hunk of marsh is private property, and obviously the house is private property. So,
Thank you.
Why was it a problem for the homeowner?
It just gets a little too close with that. We kind of want to limit the amount of human interaction you have with the birds there. So we just decided it would be a little bit better, a little bit safer for everybody to just move it a little bit further away from the property. He also didn't want to have to deal with the ospreys right above his head. It's right above his porch. So he felt better just moving it from the property there.
And I think there are on occasions dead fish associated with osprey
Right.
nests.
Drop them as they
And that'd be pretty harsh
There's a
on the
few
porch.
aspects, yeah, of course.
They wouldn't allow you to use the property. If they were there, they would dive bomb you every time you try to get in the
Right.
building.
It's a great project, and successful one, too. It's amazing they change nests like that. It's great. Very cool.
Yeah, the very cool thing about it is that they're mostly monogamous, so they'll stay with the same mate and they'll keep using the same nest year after year, and they'll actually pass it down to their children too. They'll pass it into the family, so it will be there for generations, hopefully.
I have another question, a little unrelated. So not far from that is another osprey nest where the solar panels are. And I've heard, I don't think it's true though, because it seems that it's not true, that they can't be within sight, nests cannot be within sight of
It's
each
possible. I'm not
other.
entirely sure on that. I know they are very territorial. They'll definitely try to kind of like keep each other out of their territory. I'm not sure the exact distance or within eyesight. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you that, but I do know that they are very territorial, so we like to
Well, they
keep them
built a new
spread
one
out.
over where I live, and so it, it's within eyesight of two other ones. So
Right.
I guess that's not true.
Anything's possible. I'm sure they're feuding with each other, but keep it low.
I really don't. We have several nests on the marsh that are distance apart, but within eyesight of each other.
They are,
With the success of the ospreys on Cape Cod,
Yeah.
we're seeing more and more interesting nesting places. People are building more and more nesting. So they really are a success story. They fight with the eagles now for fishing rights. And so, yeah, this nest is within the halfway house nesting site, but
Yeah.
both pairs have babies, so we're okay this year. We're good.
This is the second brood of the year for them?
No, this is the first brood, but also at the halfway house, they have 3 chicks.
And it's still the first brood? Okay.
Yep, still the first brood.
And the one near the gatehouse, no chicks this year.
No chicks
Yeah.
this year. No, that's a new pair, so.
So they have more than one brood?
I don't know.
Season?
I mean, I
No,
know
they don't.
eagles are
They
really
don't, but
early.
they don't.
And our other birds
Yeah.
of prey.
Too late. to have
It
a
was too
second.
late. The halfway house nest is successful, and we'll call this the Nickerson nest is also successful this year, even with moving the nest. So they're having a good year.
Another question, sort of unrelated.
Sure.
Okay, so the osprey nest that's near the solar panels, there's a whole lot of tree swallow, like 32 houses. They're all vacant, they're all empty. Do you know why that is?
They're not. They were all those boxes were used this year.
Were they?
Yeah, it seems like we
So
have
have
a
they
decent amount.
passed
I was out there, they
their
were.
I don't know,
season
but
for?
they're over April and May. There were hundreds of birds in those boxes.
Yeah.
In that very location?
That is
Where
correct, sir.
There's so many of them.
That colony that has been there along coexisting with the osprey nest for 20 years or more.
A while.
Yeah, okay.
Antonio, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great
It was a
success. Yeah, pleasure to have you, and successful project. Fantastic.
So I wish I could stay, but I got to run back.
Yeah,
to the
no
beach.
problem.
Thank you
That's
very much
fine.
for having me
Great,
again.
thank you.
Very nice to meet all you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Take care.
So we'll move on to staff report then?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I need this item.
From the last meeting.
All right, so I've been off all day. Hannah put this together, so we'll learn it together. So just to remind everybody, we are in full-on summer mode here. We are staffing the gatehouse 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. We do have a staff member that stays overnight as well. The RV beach hours are 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and all vehicles must be past the gatehouse by 9 a.m. In other words, we won't let any ORVers onto the beach after 9 p.m. because it's really not worth it for them to air down and then turn around and come back off. Right now, our off-road vehicle beach is open 1.1 miles. I have been emailing pretty much everybody in this room here with this information. We reduced down to 1 mile. We did have 3 nests in that mile. I was anticipating a lot less beach for the 4th of July. All 3 of those nests were lost with a overwash and then re-nested, and then all 3 were lost again. So right now we're at 1.1 miles, and what is holding the beach at 1.1 is a tern colony, pretty substantial tern colony. So when it's a tern colony, it's very hard for me to predict timing. Terns are very fickle. One day they're not there, next day there's eggs. There's a bunch of them, so we don't have exact hatch dates. But I will definitely continue to email everybody and let you know what's going on with the beach. But 1.1 miles is a lot of beach. Just like last year, we have not turned anyone away. We have ample day tripper area. The beach is very, very wide. I haven't even had to double stack. There's so much beach, but we could double stack if we had to. We have 60 camper sites. We actually can do more. We just haven't had that many people sign up, but we certainly are poised to put more on there because we don't want to turn anybody away. So we really are, from what I know, one of the only, if not the only, beach open, and we have a ton of beach. So I'm very, very satisfied with this. So with regard to the HCP, we deterred in the first 0.6 miles. Actively, heavily, aggressively deterred. And our first nest, which was nest 33, was at 0.6 miles. Now, again, we lost that nest. But just so you understand the HCP, that 0.6 miles is where you see all of the whirligigs and the flags and the pallets, and then you'll see the staff raking endlessly, which frustrates the campers because they're in there and there's like puffs of sand around. But ultimately, all of that activity, we had 3 pairs that tried to nest in that first 0.6 miles. We had 3 pairs in and out of there for a number of months, and we kind of round the clock deterred those animals. So one pair ended up on the other side of the public beach, and 2 pairs ended up past 0.6. So I always knew we were going to have at least 0.6 miles, and then, like I said, we lost a number of pairs, and we're at 1 mile, we're now at 1.1. So no additional closures. I think it's going to be a great year. I think the only reason we would close the beach is for weather or tide at this point. And I just want to mention last year also we never turned anybody away. So we're in a really good place right now. Things change, but our trend is very positive.
And how many plovers this year?
We have 56 pairs of plovers, so that's a record as well. Yep. Productivity is going to be okay, not great, because we had this huge washover event, which was a little crazy. It was just a north wind with a big tide, and it came right up to the dune, and we lost some, dune in front of the parking lot. So tides are getting harder and harder to deal with. July 4th, as we all know, was impacted by weather. We just had a couple of big dumps of rain, so it really never did set up as a July 4th. We did have 2 emergencies the day before the 4th, so the 3rd. We had a medical emergency at the cottage colony, and then there were some folks in the water, and both of those emergencies ran very smoothly, and everything is 10-4 at this point with those, but pretty quiet 4th, frankly. I wanted to let everybody know Josh Kelleher, who has been a tremendous asset to our program, has been accepted as for the environmental police, which is very, very hard to get. He's just a stellar staff member. I think he's going to move up very quickly as an EPO. He was working for us for 2 years. We got 2 years. He did quite a bit of work on emergency response and our jet ski vessel response program. Many of you know he also worked for the West Barnstable Fire Department as a volunteer, so he would leave our Sandy Neck and go there and save lives all night and then come back in the morning and go right back to work. And he definitely made an impact, and we wish him the best, and we're happy that he's going where he wants to go. I will say it is hard. I mean, this is another young, vibrant, excellent staff member that can't live here because there's no housing. It's really terrifying. In fact, I think all of the young full-time staff that I have cannot live here on the Cape and have been battling the bridge. So,
And the old one, too.
oh, sorry. Sorry, Donna.
I also battle the bridge.
Donna battles the bridge. And then some of our new hires. So we do have this position open to the public right now. So here
If I
it
may,
is.
if I may suggest, can this body write a letter of thank you to Josh for his service to the town of Barnstable, coming from the Sandy Neck Board?
Yeah, in fact,
I can't make
I made a
a,
note to do that.
okay, I can't make a motion, but I just made a suggestion. No, I mean, take a vote and,
Oh, is it official?
yeah.
So moved.
Second. Okay. I will send it. All in favor, aye? Unanimously passed. Thank you. I will send a letter. Send your copy.
So I just want to take a moment and talk about our emergency response vessel. This is a couple of years in the making. We actually had the money allocated for this, and then COVID happened and kind of everything went off the rails. But Josh was able to pull this together. It was a 2022 decision package through town council. We received $22,000 for an emergency response vessel. So Sandy Neck is kind of in an awkward place for quick response to water issues. You have Sandwich having to come all the way from Sandwich Marina, and then you have the harbor master or Barnstable Fire Department all the way from Millway. And we had a couple of real close calls in the last 10 years or so. So there was really a need for something that we could whiz right out, grab that person that maybe is exhausted on a floaty toy or there's a million things that happen out on the water, unfortunately. Kayakers, anybody that's getting in trouble in the water, when we want to quickly get out there and respond. We have now a jet ski, and you can't quite see it, but it has a rescue board on the back. It's kind of like what you would see in Hawaii. And a number of life PFDs on there as well. So if we had multiple people in the water, we can throw deploy those to the individuals. We can pull a number of people off on the sled off the back. We rapidly deploy it with this vehicle right here. We've been practicing as a team for deployment, and so there's a number of staff members that have been trained by the Harbor Master Department, and then we're also training our seasonal staff to help us deploy it and then to get on the back if we need extra help. Just in time, because again, with the shortage for everything here on the Cape, we don't have lifeguards this year. So we're really glad that we have this, and we're kind of changing our strategies on the beach, trying to have staff out there. We're doing a lot of foot patrol and ATV patrol through the public beach area, and then this is on the beach, sitting on the beach, ready to be deployed. As long as there's a trained staff member on site.
Trailer?
There's a trailer underwater there.
Okay.
However, during the day, you would have it in the water?
No.
At the water's edge?
Up on the
Yeah,
beach.
on a trailer.
On the trail, okay.
Yeah, the tides are just too big to moor it.
Yeah. What would you say is the distance you would take that? Would you be able to take it out?
Sky's the limit.
So you'd have no problem going out to Little Neck?
Yeah. I mean,
be
weather
pretty
dependent,
quick, right?
it's very quick. It's quicker
Yeah.
than the harbor master boats. Josh deployed it and went to the point
Sandwich,
once, yeah,
right,
and then he went to
Sandwich.
the Scorton Creek, and he beat the harbor master there. So, yep. I mean, if it's really choppy with a north wind, we just won't put it on the beach because it's not safe to deploy. But you can see on a day like that, it's definitely safe. I guess our next slide is about our diamondback terrapins. We have almost 400 pairs at this point. So they're crossing the trail. So we're just reminding cottage owners, drive slow, drive carefully. They do nest right there in the trail, and then we're collecting the eggs for a Head Start program, which is what this one is doing. I assume it's in the trail.
So that's close to another record? You've had more, right? 420 or something, maybe?
Yeah, we've been hovering around 400 for 3
Yeah.
years now in a row. I've seen a number on 6A now, so our population is,
Wow.
I've seen a couple cross, and then we did have a couple strikes on 6A
Really?
over by Bridge Creek.
Yeah. I pushed 2 across the road, stopping traffic, and I've seen some of the dead ones there at 6A Bridge Street.
See, yeah, so it's not a, except the bus. So it's not a bad problem to have, we had only a few nests, and now we have a ton of nests, and they're coming out and about and doing their thing, but I think it's still extremely successful program. Oh, Rich.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Just a quick question. Would the town be willing to take and put up a turtle crossing sign in that particular area?
We could, yeah. I definitely.
What's that about?
What's that about? I've seen turtle crossing signs somewhere else.
In West
At
Barnstable on 6A there.
Yeah. There is one.
They're up by Maple Street.
That's it, yeah.
By
I've
the
seen-
bank, there's one at the bank also, yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's see if we have another slide.
Chris, yeah.
No.
Just to say, when I worked for Natural Resources, I recall someone calling the office and saying, "Hey, there's a turtle crossing sign here. Can you please move it so that they're not near the road?" So you know, the signage don't always do what it is intended.
And the turtles can't read anyway.
Signs are in the wrong places all the time, too.
Yeah, they
I
really
mean,
are.
Just
Just saying.
We definitely see high concentration right there at Bridge Creek, where the Osprey Pole is. I mean, that's where I've seen all my action. So I don't know why there's a turtle crossing somewhere. That's where you saw it as well.
So what would have to happen?
Noise.
What would have to happen to get something like that approved? That would have to come from you guys, I guess, really.
Yeah.
It's not the board, yeah.
It's a state highway, so.
I mean, we put up the Stay Neck Beach Park sign. Just put it up. Yeah. The older I get, the more I agree with that.
Just a quick question. I don't know that we want to get into this in depth at this meeting, but just something maybe to talk about at one of our future meetings, maybe in tandem with our discussion on regulations in the fall. But I'm sure you all guys all read in the paper about the fiascos at Dennis and Falmouth and God knows where else this last weekend. And I just sitting there at home the other day thinking, what would we do if that happened at Sandy Neck? You know, are we?
It's not going to happen at Sandy Neck.
So what are the conditions that
We
you think?
would not allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Don't
They
forget,
don't-
the campers help us out on the beach. If once we're
Hundreds of
gone,
people partying.
if the campers saw a whole
closed
bunch of
the
people
beaches
coming in
before
to the
4 p.m.
beach,
weekend
they'd be
because they
on the
couldn't-
phone in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
We have an overnight staff member that doesn't let anybody
Yeah.
up to the parking lot, and we're so staffed. The warning has been sent. Don't even try it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's not going to happen. No, we're not. We don't. We're too proactive, and I think a lot of those situations they get out of hand, and then you have to react. Right? We're not going to get to the point where there's
Yeah.
150 people partying on Sandy Neck. It's just not going to. It's just not going to be a thing.
I think
And we
part of the
have
issue with
PD as well a lot of the time on these big weekends.
Yeah, I mean, part of the issue, I think, in Dennis, as I understand, is that they got overwhelmed quickly. I mean, it started out kind of smallish, but nowadays with social media, it's not like you got to call somebody. You just put something on a phone, and there's 1,000 people showing up. It's harder to control the crowds. But no, I hear what you're saying. It was a bad. I mean, look at the trash and stuff down in Falmouth and Dennis. I mean, it's pretty
but they
horrible.
have to come through the gatehouse. As soon as we saw anything, groups of cars or whatever, I mean, we are very well set up for that because, trust me, we communicate very, very well, and it wouldn't even begin to happen.
Good. That's good.
The other thing, too, is Off-Road Beach is a little different because we can revoke permits and we have everybody's name. That type of situation is nobody has ID and nobody gives you their name, and everybody knows they have the upper hand because they can just run.
Okay.
And so, we're well positioned. I mean, we have to put out fires. Usually the 4th of July has a few.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Let's move on then to old business. We'll do a quick update. I don't know if I'll do it or you do it I'll do it on the project. But anything else? Anything under public outreach, Bill, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, just Jordan Muniz's project that you guys were aware of in building some benches along the Marsh Trail is for all. I haven't seen the last installation, but they installed the out to Trail 4 a few weeks ago. There is one bench which we yet have to find a home for. I think it's still behind the garage there, right? So the thought was to somewhere maybe along, Jordan's amenable to whatever. So we just need to find a spot maybe along that walking trail between the gatehouse and the top of the hill.
Yeah,
But,
we have a couple of them there, Bill, and I will tell you that we've had a lot of really positive response from that. And we will pass that on to Jordan, folks that are walking up there, and that is an incline, and some of the folks just sit and rest and take their time. It's really made an impact. It really has.
Okay, so there's already a bench up there?
There is, but I believe Hannah's got one more spot for it. We will definitely find a spot. People are absolutely enjoying them.
Okay,
They
so
really
we'll
are.
work with Hannah and Jordan to find a spot and make sure that it gets taken care of. And we're also going to mark all those benches, the fact that they were an Eagle Scout service project. So that's coming. But we had a little challenge, with his communication wasn't the best at times, and we ended up ordering enough to do one bench, not 6, because that's basically what he asked for. So we got over that hurdle, and he handled, kind of re-gearing. He handled it pretty well, and which is what those projects are all about. Is that a kid makes the proposal, he gets it approved, and then he rolls with the punches, and what are the real life lessons that are learned, and he learned a number of real good, life lessons, and is providing a great service. I mean, along that back trail. So.
I mean, it's up to you, but if you wanted to bring him back for a recap of the project where we could actually, give him a chance to talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and see if he's interested in that, or you think it would be a good idea, we could certainly do that.
Yeah, I think he would probably be amenable to that, but we'll talk to him about it.
Okay. Yeah, just let us know. We'll get it on the agenda. You can let Donna know.
Will do.
Anything else? Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick update on the project, and then we have this letter we need to resolve. So we had another public meeting. Amber did her usual good job with presenting it. Questions were, fairly predictable. Nothing really ridiculous or outrageous came up. A number of you guys were there, I know. So it went really well, I think. And so we're now at a point where we're moving from, the next step is to go from 65% design to 90% design. And also, at the same time, the permitting process, is starting. So, and I guess to some extent, the funding process, which leads me to the last point. So as part of the discussion we had with the project team, Leslie Fields, who's the project manager, was gathering letters of support for continued funding from CZM for the next stage of the project, which is obviously important. So I forget if I asked her or she asked me to write a letter on behalf of the Sandy Neck Board. So I did draft that letter. Nina has taken a look at it. I did get some feedback from Pete. I believe it has to be to them by tomorrow. Is that my understanding that correctly? So,
Anytime.
right. So I tried to draft it as thoroughly as possible to avoid tons of wordsmithing. So what I would like to do is take the letter that I sent, if you've read it, if you have any comments that are material, let's talk about it. If there's anything there that's a mistake, I mean, I think it hit the points reasonably well. So if
You have it.
if you don't have a copy, I have extra copies.
I've got it.
Okay.
So any discussion on that?
I think you should have where you, in the first sentence, says Sandy Neck Board, Sandy Neck Advisory Board, whatever our official,
It's Sandy Neck
Whatever.
Board.
it is, just, it's not Sandy Neck Advisory
Nope, it's not
Board?
anymore.
Oh, okay, good. I thought, by the way, this was excellent.
Oh, thanks.
Really, I think you did a great job. You know,
Spent a lot of
you
my
brought
life
in a
writing
lot
letters.
of points. You know, it wasn't just the infrastructure. You talked about the,
Hit all the points.
yeah, you talked about economic viability. I thought that was excellent. You talked about biodiversity,
Well, that's our
biodiversity and
mantra, right?
conservation.
Those three things: public use, outreach, viability, and
Yeah.
conservation. That's the game. So
I think that was really good to have that all in there.
I think I sent you and Gordon a copy too, Chris, as well. So thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to put a little emotion into it because I think this is sort of has, to me at least, it's kind of an emotional thing too. It's important to get this done. You know, sometimes it takes some emotion to get it over the line. You know, after 6-7 years or whatever.
I do have one quick question. CZM, what's that relationship to the Executive Office of Energy? Is that a division? Is CZM a division of Massachusetts Environmental?
It's probably a division, if not a department, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the address from Leslie, so I assume she has the correct one. But
Good. Yeah.
So I think the project's in a good place. I think, we don't anticipate another public meeting possibly until maybe late in the year or early next year at this point. There's a lot of work to be done behind the scenes with the permitting and continued design. I think if you saw the presentation, the team has really responded really well to a lot of the issues that were raised, and I think has done a really good job addressing concerns or opportunities in some cases, like parking spaces. The parking space thing is going to be very tricky. We've already been told it's a take, so to speak, in terms of spaces. So that is going to be a controversy, as we move forward. But if we lose some parking spaces, but we at least protect what's there, so we don't lose more from erosion, that's still going to be great. So we'll do the best we can, I think, with fighting that fight. But in the end, it might just be a compromise, or maybe options for us to trade or make other compromises with the agency. So we'll see how that goes. So what I'd like to do today, because we need to get this in their hands by tomorrow, is take a vote on this letter. If everybody's happy with it, someone can make a motion that we send this letter on behalf of the Sandy Neck Board.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks, guys. Motion passed, so
Good job.
done. So procedure-wise, should I, just timing-wise, should I send this to Leslie tonight then? And
If you sign it, we'll scan it.
We'll scan it and get
Okay.
it sent.
I just want to make sure, because I made a couple changes that Pete suggested. So
Oh, I don't,
I'll sign mine.
Sign
Is that
it,
okay?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I don't,
whatever you want to sign.
So we,
I'll also mention that the Cape Cod Times did a fantastic article.
Yes.
One of the best articles that I have seen on
I'm not as convinced.
environmental issue. Now, again, reaching out to the public wasn't all just science, but a pretty in-depth. Sophie, what was her last name? Anyway, so she did a really good job, did a lot of background research, and put a lot of hard work into it. I was really impressed with it. And Rich put me onto that. So I was impressed.
Yeah, I think the reason I'm smirking a little bit is because the people that she interviewed largely were just people wandering around the beach.
And then they weren't even
Didn't know
from-
anything about the project.
And they
you
weren't
know.
from Barnstable.
Yeah, other than that.
But that was okay, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think they presented a general view on erosion and how it affects the beaches, but I think there were other people at that meeting, and they did interview, I think, Nina and the town engineer, and I don't know who else, none of which was included. But look, it's always good to have publicity. So, you
And
know.
great pictures.
Yeah, we'll take it. you know.
EP slip, yeah.
Yeah, I was glad. Okay, so I just need to sign this. Let's see, I got to.
While Tom is signing that, I'm going to pipe in if you don't mind. And at the last town council meeting that we had at the end of June, I believe I believe that was the meeting, the town manager let the townspeople know that there will not be any fireworks. Maybe that was a couple of town council meetings ago. But explained how the town will not be raking Southside beaches, but he did refer to Nina and the team at Sandy Neck on how the town is experienced in handling endangered species and beach management. So bravo to Nina and the staff for being able to be held up as, we know how to do this. You know, we've been here before. So I want to congratulate you for that, for being able to afford the town manager your experience that helped give confidence to the fact that there's going to be a significant change in the way that the town does fireworks going forward on the south side. But part of that is he's relying on the experience of the Sandy Neck staff. Thank you for that.
Hopefully they won't shoot them off Sandy Neck. Yeah, I mean, you have a complicated operation out there, and, you know, my experience over 10 years now has been a really professional group that knows what they're doing and loves what they're doing, which is just as important, so thanks for that. Any other comments on the letter? It's
So
done,
this should be included in the minutes?
Yeah.
The final?
It'll be in the minutes. Okay,
Do you want to send us the final? You have a different one than we have?
I just made a couple of changes that Pete suggested that made sense.
Signed, it's dated, we'll scan it.
She's got it, yeah, it's all sorted, I think.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, so I think we are done except for public comment. You guys have anything you want to, Rich? Just you got to, do your name thing.
I have a quick question about, once you go forward to 90% approval, does that mean that it will lock in the funding?
You mean the
Conceptual
the
design?
amount? We haven't got. I guess I don't understand your question. Can you rephrase it?
Okay, if in fact the 90% model says that it's going to cost $4.5 million, all right? Does that approval by our board or anybody else lock in that funding from CZM or,
No.
So in other words, even though we have 100% approval, it could get wiped out?
I think the way to
Delayed.
think the way to think about it is there's parallel things going on. You got permitting, all the agency stuff is kind of happening. You got design engineers, making adjustments to the facility, et cetera. And then you've got a funding stream, which is kind of running alongside that. So that's what makes the project kind of complicated because you have all that stuff going on concurrently. So I mean, this CGM grant that we're requesting is the first step in that.
Is for
To get that money to do that design.
to get to 90% and to get permitting so that when you get to that level of design, then you can find out how much it really costs. Right now, they're estimating.
Yeah.
And then the next move is more grant funding for construction. And we're certainly looking at all funding sources. And then at the same time, we would need to go before town council. So,
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, all of that financial stuff will have to be approved by the town council and Mark, I guess.
My reason for asking is after we've done all this work for all these years, now all of a sudden, we're at the point where we can start to take and put shovels in the ground. All of a sudden, someone says, whoop, we don't have any money. And, it's for naught. And
Yeah, I mean, I know I've said this several times. You're competing with the whole town for capital, right? So there's projects galore. Town council has to make cuts on what they can afford to spend in a limited, within the budget they have. So it's always possible.
Yeah.
That's why I think the project has been really professionally managed this time. And I'm not talking about us, but it's the team at Sandy Neck, and the consultants have really done a good job, I think, of nailing this down pretty well. And it makes it hard to escape, the sort of logic of it. And I think what makes it more likely you're going to get funding. I mean, if you got the agencies kind of working on your side on this thing, which they've been kind of brought in already, so they're, and you have a good design and it's logical. So, I mean, but you're always competing for capital, so it's just
And you're
like
also
a company.
competing with other towns and other projects across the Cape, across the
Yeah,
state.
that's right, for funding from outside the town, so. So we'll have to see. I mean, look, could that happen? Yeah. Could it be put on hold for 5 years? Sure. I mean, but we have to,
But it's an inevitability.
yeah. The mindset has to be, we're going to do the best possible job we can putting this together and presenting it in a way that, makes it hard to escape. So.
So, just a question on that. So we're at 60% now, conceptual design. We're moving to 90%. I feel like we're at 100% or 90% now. What is it that we're waiting to do?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, there's, the details of every, you say, well, we're going to move the gatehouse to here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you just don't go and push it up there one day. There's all kinds of engineering that has to be done around that design, equipment, project. There's a big project, lots of little projects that add up to a big project on that beach. So all that stuff has to be, calculations on how much sand you need, how much wood you need, how much, all of that has to be done, just like you're building a building or something. So that work all has to get done. And that's when you start to get the cost refinement, when you start to do all the detailed project management stuff around the
Between the 60 and 90%, or when you get to 90%?
No, we should know by 90% what the costs are. Yeah.
And when do we get it to 90%?
I would think it's going to be late this, maybe fall, or maybe the end of the year. We don't have a date. We don't have a date yet, so we don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for you.
Well, we're in the process of asking for funding for that. And so the CZM grant that we just wrote, that Tom wrote the letter for, is a fiscal year. So all that money needs to be spent by June of 2024.
24. So it's a lot of little steps, and some of them are, engineering, grants, CZM, regulators, a lot of complexity. So team is doing a good job, I think, of keeping all the balls in the air, so we'll see how it goes. But we should know the cost by then, I think, or have a pretty clear idea what they will be. So my guess is it's going to be less than we originally planned, just because we're not building a new gatehouse and things like that I think, but we'll see. So it's never less, yeah. Well, yeah, with another year of inflation, it may not be.
Well, what happens is the more you put it off, then the price, you talk about it some more, then the price gets to go up $1 million. I mean, we've
inevitable.
experienced that with fire stations over time, and it's just, we've done our due diligence, so let's just work the process.
Yeah.
The process work itself.
Exactly. Any other public comments before we adjourn? Okay, can I get a motion? Thanks, guys. Can I get a motion?
Second?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I make mention? Sorry. Sandy Neck community lost Tracy's sister, Sue Striegel, this past week to cancer.
Oh, sorry.
U.S. veteran, lifelong resident of the town of Barnstable, lifelong Marsh Trail family person, and just an all-around great individual. So just a note that we lost one of our own this past week. So.
Sorry about that. Okay,
Do adjourn?
yeah.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. See you.